This episode is delivered and presented by runners for runners and is for your easy pace runs. Welcome to Runversation, a conversational paced running podcast and a movement for everyday runners. Hi, I'm Rochelle, and this is my co-host Kate. And hello to you, the runners tuning in.
On today's episode, we're going to talk through a hot topic right now. It is, would you pay somebody to coach you who hasn't run the distance that you're wanting to chase or doesn't have credentials or an accreditation within the sporting industry? So that's going to be a really hot sort of matter. I just want to make sure everybody knows that this isn't directed at any particular run clubs or any individuals. I put out on my personal Instagram a few weeks ago before we started this podcast the question, what would you expect out of a coach? And this is just something that came back in a lot of the feedback. So I thought it would be a really great topic to start with. It's not one that's talked about whatsoever a lot. We'll let Kate have her nerd out.
Woohoo! The moment I've been dreaming of.
We are going to call it Miles of Insights. Bo's going to get his casual growl.
Bo is back again for this episode, everybody.
And but first, what I want to ask you, Kate, is there something that you saw on a run or in the gym this week that caught your attention?
Well, okay, I know we want to go with the theme of on the run or in the gym, but I'm going to call you out on this one, Rochelle, because I found this in your house. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, this is what I found. For anyone listening along, I'm holding in my little hands here something called a pedi mask.
Yeah.
It is like a face mask, but for your feet. And this is a new concept to me. I mean, if you're listening along, you've seen this before. Okay, cool. But wow, a pedi mask. I'm intrigued.
You obviously don't run far enough, Kate, to understand that you need to take care of your feet and your toes.
I know, but you know what? Like, I totally get the thought behind this, and I'm quite looking forward to using it because I've stolen it now. But I'm also like, I remember one time, Nick Marsman, the poor man, he sneaks into every podcast episode without his permission. Sorry, Nick. But he went and got like a pedicure when we were on holiday once. And then the next day he did a real long run. He's like, oh my gosh, my feet have never been more sore because they were so like soft and supple and like it lost all the hardness. It like reminds me, so I used to be a rower and I would get like a rower's hands. And then, you know, you're kind of just accustomed to it, right? Because you've got calluses. It's not pretty, but it made rowing a lot easier. It's like the same with your feet, right? And I'm like, is a pedi mask a good or a bad thing? If you're listening along, please comment or like message us on Insta. Let us know if you got a pedi mask. Maybe we could make a reel out of it. I saw this reel of this lady who was putting face masks on that she got from Temu. So there were all these really bad face masks. So maybe I'm going to try that with my feet next time. Put it on maybe, is there an OnlyFans for feet?
Well, I'm sure there is. And we'd probably make a lot of money.
All the different masks, maybe get some custom made ones.
But you know why I have that? It is not because I use it before I do races. It's the aftermath.
Okay, this makes sense to me. Oh my gosh, do you know what? Okay, I'm going to save this. I'm going to save it for a rainy day.
Oh no, I still want you to experience
it. After a big session, when I've got like a bit more of a down week. What did you see this week, Rochelle?
Okay, mine is definitely running related. If you don't know, I live in the foothills of Perth, so I do a lot of running on the trails. And one thing that I saw this week is a really old bare bottom doing a bush poo.
No! Stop!
So I'm
a bare bottom runner?
Or I don't know if she was running or if she was just out for a walk. But if I was to do a bush poo, which I'm not saying that I don't, because I do, all the way, I would like walk into the bush and get lost into the bush and behind a tree. Bless this lady, she was squatting facing the tree. So her face was facing the tree and her bare bottom was facing the trail where everybody was running past.
Oh, but do you know what? You would never be able to recognise her in public.
Well, I know what her bottom looks like.
Yes. Hopefully she's not walking around in public with her bottom out. Oh, but you see, maybe she was afraid to go into the bush for like spiders.
Yeah, I don't know. This time of year, there's not many bugs or
I was going to say snakes,
around.
but yeah, it's the wrong time of year. They're all,
So next time you need to do a bush poo, advice for everybody listening, make sure you go into the bush off the trail path so that nobody can see your bum. Because I don't really want to see other people's bums.
This is not how I thought the start of this podcast is going to go.
Told you.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Yeah, we should dive straight into the topic. So, Kate, would you pay somebody to coach you if they haven't run a marathon or they're not an accredited coach?
Okay, so I don't know. I feel like maybe I have a different outlook on this of what a lot of people might have. The not doing the distance, I'm not actually fazed about. Now, when it comes to marathon, I would like someone who's done a marathon so then I feel a bit more relatable to them. So in that regard, but anything beyond a marathon, so say if I was an ultra runner and I was training for, let's say for example, Margaret River Ultra, right? I wouldn't care if my coach had done that or not, or if they'd run 80K or not. What matters more to me is they have the fundamental understanding there. So for me, obviously being a sports scientist and researcher, I'm all about proper education. That's just my thing because that's the way I've always been. And you know what? I used to search like high and low for a coach who'd like had a tertiary degree, who'd done research in it. And that's because that's the way that my mind works and that's what I like. So I really enjoy that aspect. But not on top of that, but more than that, I just want a coach who is relatable and that I get along with. That to me is like, and not get along with as in I don't have to be their friend, but I want when I talk to them about my racing to understand what I'm saying and my training to totally get my life demands, like all that kind of side of stuff, like motivate me, be super supportive, celebrate my wins like they're their wins. So I look for, rather than the distance run, I look for the knowledge and the support.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your thoughts?
I am very similar. I've had coaches in the past who haven't run the marathon distance, and that was kind of the area that I was going into with my running career. So I was more than happy to have a coach who hasn't run the distance coach me, but I needed to know that they had the knowledge behind that and have had the experience over a certain amount of time coaching athletes. I've seen a lot of people get a coach and this person may not have had a coaching credential, but they have run marathons in the past. And I felt like when I listened back to what they were talking about, I feel like there was a disconnect in like, how should they structure somebody else's program only based on the information they've had of doing it themselves?
Yeah, that's what I think I struggle with when it comes to coaching. So I'm like, but you can't rely on your own experience because you were not said athlete that you're coaching. So, and I use that for myself, for example, and we're both coaches, right? And it's the same even for me as a physio. It's like, okay, I might have had an injury before, but if I haven't sustained that injury, it doesn't mean I can't manage that injury, right? I know the knowledge of it. And also the way that I responded to that injury, if it's something I've had, doesn't mean that person's going to respond that way. But what they would like about that is the relatability of knowing, say I've had that and I can talk to them about it and I can sympathise better. So I look at it kind of in that regard from me. It's like, again, you just need someone with the knowledge and then the relatability for you. They don't have to have necessarily done it themselves. But now I think what you're tapping on is true, is that it's almost what we're saying is missing is what a lot of coaching is now. It's like, but I've done a marathon, so therefore I know how to coach for marathons. Yeah. It's like, you know how to do it for you, but maybe not for everybody.
Not everybody is an elite athlete. So not everybody can run 6 or 7 days a week and double runs on those days as well. So a lot of people who are new to marathons might only be able to handle a load of 4 days of running. Yeah. And a coach that hasn't got an understanding of different training loads might not be able to put that down onto paper.
Yeah, I think you've completely nailed that there. And it's just about being adaptable for every athlete.
Yeah.
And that is what, you know me, I like to delve into the science of these topics.
Yes.
But that is what research supports, is that, and also I think people have to be aware that their coach isn't necessarily going to get it right every time as well.
No, we all make mistakes, we're human.
Exactly. So you might have a coach, for example, who can handle those loads. Generally, say the caliber of athletes that they coach generally can. So they might just apply that to you naturally because that is their coaching style. But then they might go, oh, hang on, they actually can't handle the loads that I've given them. So then any good coach will take that feedback and go, okay, whoopsies, let me change that up a little bit for you, and then make those changes. So again, that's just a coach that listens, right? Yes. And the other issue that I have with maybe coaches who don't have the knowledge is that I think that it's so much easier for coaches to make athletes work hard and make athletes feel like they're in the grind and the smash fest than being a smart coach.
Yes.
Because things, and I find this in run coaching, strength training, physio, it's like simple isn't sexy. Like it's so unsexy. The things that I try, and I'm not even going to say sell because I'm not a salesperson, I'm a healthcare professional. Yeah. But the way that I approach all of those aspects is so simple and fundamental, and because foundations work, right?
Yes.
But it is so unsexy. I'm like, look, you just need to be consistent. You just have to wait a little while. Let's just build up this base. But that's not sexy. And then you have athletes who want to feel like they're getting smashed. And it's real easy for people to smash people and feel like they're in the grind. What's hard is not doing that when you know it's best for your athlete. But then athletes get annoyed and you kind of get caught up in social media and everything. And then it's just a recipe for disaster.
I feel like we're in an era now where runners want the results today, and they need to understand that there's a process. And so if there's a coach who has an athlete that comes to them that doesn't have the communication skills and the understanding of how to like refer the information out, they're just going to give that athlete the program that they want.
Yeah.
And then that is where injuries and other things start to come into play.
Yeah.
Or like back to last week's episode, stress loads.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
someone who knows you. You know, I've got like an example of what was not good coaching that I've experienced myself. Was I'd asked for, because I like numbers, okay? So this was back in my triathlon days. Not a triathlete anymore, but, you know, I like to think about my prime fitness. And I really wanted to know my FTP, so my threshold power. And because I just liked numbers, so I'd asked my coach for an FTP session, which is like a 20-minute all-out session, so you can get your power numbers. And they'd given it to me 2 days after my first race that I decided to enter open. So like the level above age group, right?
So you just smashed yourself in the
It was a long distance, and I was like, and it was hot. And get this, I'd done an 18K run in the morning, okay? So I messaged my coach, was like, do you know what, I'm pretty knackered. I don't think this test is a good idea. Like, I'm not going to hit my numbers.
Maybe next week.
And they were like, do you know, just go for it. You asked for it, so get it done. And I did, and my numbers were the worst numbers I'd ever had. And that night, I was just in agony, and I think I had just dehydrated and just run myself into the ground. And I was so sore for so long, and I talked to them, and they're like, well, you asked for it, virtually, so this is what...
And you were new into the open category by the sounds of it. So that's going to then put like a dampener on like your triathlon career. You're going to think, well, this is what it's like.
I'm terrible.
Why am I going to continue?
It was a really bad... That was the mismatch of communication there. And that was like... felt like maybe the knowledge wasn't there with a mismatch in communication, and so that ended that coaching relationship for me, because I was like, no thank you. So then for me, I was like, oh, that's a big learning experience, which was really tough, but you learn, so it's okay.
And that's like with any sport, it takes time to learn things as well. So going back to the coaches, like if you're a new coach and you've only been coaching for 6 months, you're not going to have the same knowledge as somebody who, say, has been coaching for 6 years or 16 years. So, I think that's important.
So what would you recommend for any of our listeners right now, if they're an athlete and they're going, do you know what, I think I'm going to look for a coach? What would you say is almost like a little checklist? Like, let's do a couple of things that you feel like is potentially a bit of a non-negotiable for when it comes to looking for a coach?
Yeah, I would say for me, I wouldn't find a coach that's just doing it as a side hustle, because I want somebody who's going to be delving right into it all of the time and learning and wanting the knowledge.
Yeah.
So a coach that's, doing it full time, somebody that's got really good communication skills. I've had in the past experiences where my program's been given to me and I haven't had any feedback. I haven't had any reasoning as to why I'm doing certain sessions. It's just like, do this. So that's a key thing that I now do as a coach is every session I give, there's an explanation as to what it is and why.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I'll look for in a coach is their accreditation, because that's important for me, that they've learnt what it is that they're doing and the number of years that they've been doing it for.
Yeah.
Another big thing for me is coaching insurances.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of coaches out there who aren't accredited that don't have insurances in case, say, I was to get injured or something was to happen to me when I'm in their care.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I think a lot of people might look over that quite a bit. What's your thoughts then on being self-coached?
I tried it.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, I've been coaching for 15 years. I've been running for 20-something years and I've been in the industry. I know exactly what I need to do. And I did. I can structure the same program for myself similar to what I would give to a client, but there was no accountability. And that's where I fell short. And then you've also got the trap of, today, I think I've got other things that I could do. Maybe I'll dial back this session, or I'll miss the cool down, or just change it completely whilst you're out there. You start doing your warm up and you think, not feeling great. Maybe instead of doing this session, I'll just do that. The accountability for me is important.
Yeah.
And that's why I outsource my coach.
I totally agree with you on that. I'm the same with the self-coach thing, but it's not only the accountability. Then sometimes, even for myself, I just need someone to tell me what to do and what not to do too, because I still creep up my slow runs a bit faster than they should be.
Yeah.
Or, I need that someone just to be like, Kate, you know better. And often they don't even say anything. They're just like, Kate. And I'm like, say no more. And actually, who's doing my coaching at the moment is quite a good friend of mine. He's not actually even just purely a runner, but he's my colleague at uni. So he teaches with me, and he just understands everything, and he knows me well, and I think he knows my style of feedback. So I like that he has the knowledge there.
Yes.
And something that you touched on that I really liked was when you said, there's a session there, what is the point of it? And you said you need to know the point of it. That is gold for me. I think you're so right. And I always say to anyone that I coach, or any session or any exercise that I prescribe as a physio, anything, I'm like, you can always ask me why. In fact, they don't ask me why because I tell them why when I deliver it. So they never ask why. Something I pride myself on at the end is I go, any questions? They're like, no, you've answered them. They're kind of like, stop talking, woman. But that I think is key. I always think if you ask someone, why am I doing this? And they can't really answer, I'm like, ooh, ding, 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 red flag.
Yeah.
And it can't be like, oh, for fitness. It's like, no, is this a threshold session? Is this a VO2 session? When you say easy, what is easy? Is it conversation easy? Is it higher end of zone 2? Or are we going more steady? What is it?
What is it?
And
exactly.
Why? That is the key.
But it's not just only the session itself. I explain why we're doing drills and what each drill is designed to do and the importance of them.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I'm training people out in the field, them knowing why they're doing walking lunges and how they should be doing them and why they're doing them makes not only my knowledge more reputable, but they're like, oh, I trust this person and I want to continue to see what they've got to offer.
Yeah. And I always think too, and I say this is a very bad business model, but I always make my goal by the time that someone has finished working with me, which hopefully they never do because I love all the people I work with.
Yeah.
But I want them to feel like if they were to ever stop working with me, they know it themselves.
Yeah.
That's my goal. I'm like, you should be able to survive without me.
You've taken the words out of my mouth. Because when I was strength training with you in your previous business, I feel like I could be a strength and conditioning coach just on all of the things that you have taught me. And I'm not qualified, so I don't do that. when I go to the gym, like sometimes I feel like I know more than the instructor running the class because I've been around you for long enough to learn and understand. So
that makes
kudos to you.
Very happy. I was the same when you did like all the running drills for our run groups. I was like, oh, and I'm in my head like, it's this one, that one. Okay, good.
Yeah. So it's important to not only give feedback, but empower and install knowledge.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. See, this is why we are Dream Team.
I know, right? So let's conclude on to that because I know that is a touchy subject and we've probably spoken a lot about it. But if anybody has any questions relating to that topic, please feel free to DM us on the Runversation podcast Instagram page or in YouTube as well. Yeah, miles of insights.
Oh my gosh, I've been patiently waiting for this section. Okay, so on Miles of Insight today, I wanted to go over my favourite muscle group. Okay?
Yes.
So anyone that knows me knows straight away when I say my favourite muscle group, they'll be like, oh, they know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm going to give the listeners a little bit of a chance to answer this question. So when you're listening along, I want you to think about your lower limbs, so your leggies, and out of all your muscles that you can see, okay, you want to have a guess which one has the greatest physiological cross-sectional area. So what I mean by that is the muscle fibers that will run parallel. If you were to line them all up, which one has the biggest area? Now, I'm not going to ask you, Rochelle, because I know that you
I think I know the answer. Just being in the gym with you, I think I know the answer. So I'll let you answer it.
But it is actually your soleus muscle, okay? So for anyone listening, we have our calves are predominantly made up of two muscles. So we got gastroc, which I call the big sexy, all right?
The one that most people see.
That you see. People look at it and go, ooh, sexy, like I do. That's
you got nice calves over there.
Bit weird. Yes, some people have baby calves. Yeah. Some people have foot fetishes. I've got calf fetish. Not really, but maybe. And then, so that's our bigger one, okay? That's a lot more fast twitch muscle fibers. Yeah. So that's really important if you were a sprinter. Then underneath that, we have the soleus, okay? And that's the one that we are talking about. And I call the soleus slow twitch rich, all right? So,
yeah, slow twitch rich.
That is a tongue twister. Say 10 times fast, go.
Slow twitch. Nah.
But it is slow twitch rich, meaning obviously it has like an abundance of slow twitch muscle fibers. So when it comes to long distance running, that is our key, all right? Then both of those muscles come and they have the same tendon of insertion, which is our Achilles tendon. Yeah. So the reason that I'm emphasizing calves, and the point of my little miles of insight today is just to say, runners, don't neglect your calves. A lot of people, when they think about strength training or rehab, they focus so much on the glutes because they tend to be like the bigger muscle group that we think about. Yeah. And of course they're important. I'll do my own little section on those one day. Yeah. But today's about the calves. So that Achilles tendon in itself returns 90% of the mechanical energy when we run. Yeah. In fact, our Achilles tendon in itself does 35% or up to 35% of the total work of running.
Wow.
Okay. And that doesn't actually come from any muscle contractions. That's just the tendon taking that elastic energy when we run and expending it again. So when you think about really how big the soleus muscle is, how strong the Achilles tendon is, like that is our fundamental part of running. Yeah. It propels our body forwards when we run, when we're pushing off, obviously. And without that strength through the Achilles tendon and the calves, you can kind of think of like, I used to use an elastic band analogy, which I still really like, but I thought of this one the other day when I was coming up with my insights, because this is what I do in my spare time. So if you think about if you strengthen your calves and your Achilles tendon, okay, so the point of running is to like move forward in the most economical and efficient motion and as fast as possible, right? Imagine, you know, the little mini trampolines that you probably jumped on when you were a kid. Yes. Okay. Imagine that when you were running, you could only jump on these mini trampolines. All right. So you got one on one leg, one on the other leg, and you're going like one left, one right, and you're having to move forwards. All right. Would you pick, okay, if you had to go from one to another, an old flimsy one that, like, you know, those real old trampolines used to stand on your foot pretty much and just go straight to the ground. Yes. Or a brand new one.
Of course, a brand new one.
Obviously, right? Now, you don't want vertical oscillations, so you don't want your head to go like up and bounce up towards the ceiling. It's about moving forwards. But of course, you're going to pick that. So when people say, well, obviously, and I'm like, well, then obviously strengthen your Achilles tendon, because that's what that does. Yeah. But so many people neglect it. So the last little thing in my little miles of insight that I wanted to tell everybody, you see how excited I'm getting, is that you do need to load your Achilles tendon up in loads that are bigger than running, okay?
Yes.
Because you need to load your calves and Achilles and your Achilles in a way that is actually going to make changes that are going to translate over to your running. So first thing is that takes time, okay? So you need to be patient with this kind of loading. It takes time. And then the second thing is you do need to load it up enough. So you want to have a combination of some heavy load stuff and some muscular endurance stuff as well. And as your body can tolerate, a little bit of plyometrics in there too.
That was a question. I was going to say, so plyometrics
definitely plays a role.
Can I ask a question or ask you something?
Yes.
Hundreds of videos and reels on Instagram about people doing plyometrics to help running and telling people to do these to help their running. But if you were to just all of a sudden go off and think, right, I'm going to do those plyometrics that influencer said, you can't, because you haven't done the base work first. Is that right?
Yes. Well, you can, but small doses.
Okay.
So many people think, oh, plyometrics, they go like straight into box jumps, but they'll do too much too often, and then they end up with Achilles tendinopathy. Like the most frustrating thing, because you've done them to avoid Achilles tendinopathy and to run fast, and then you get it from doing it. So people are like, I hate plyos. I'm like, no, you just did it wrong.
Yeah.
So I would say to people, start off with literally like 4 sets of 10 seconds on, 50 seconds off.
Yeah.
And do that even 2, maximum 3 times a week on your running days.
Yeah.
So you don't actually want to fill your non-running days with them, because then you're just going to load up excessively on your non-running days.
Yeah.
So you want to do them on your running days. So it's just about, you can do them, but you know, there's some really good studies that show that some drop jumps can significantly improve running economies. People go, oh my goodness, amazing, they do it straight away. It's like, just build into it. Just build into it, because they are a lot of load. And complement that with maximal strength training, or do your maximal strength training first, build up the foundations, then introduce your plyos, which is exactly how we would manage Achilles tendinopathy. So do that in your running management overall.
And a drop jump, it's not off a coffee table.
No. Well, if that's all you got, no. Lower depth.
Yeah. Excuse me. Perfect. Cool. Awesome. I really love that segment. That was great.
Thank
I have
you.
so many more questions, and we could probably continue to talk about that, but I feel like that's a whole other episode.
Yes, we can make it a whole
in
other
itself.
episode. And Rochelle, tell me about your segment that you're going to do in the next episode.
So in the next episode, we're going to have, I don't know what to call it yet, sass and strides or stride and sass. It's basically just like running advice or tips from a coach, but I feel like it needs a really cool name. So can you comment below if you want it to be sass and strides or strides and sass?
Well, which one's more important, you being sassy or the running?
I mean, strides are important, but you've got to have some element of sass about you to deliver in an important way. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out, but if you have a better idea, please let me know, because, I'm going to have a little segment on running tips or coaching advice. I'll mix it up. If you've got any questions as well, please make sure you let me know, because that's another really important part of this podcast, is answering the listeners' questions.
Yes, of course.
But thank you for joining us today. Please make sure you follow us on runversation.pod on Instagram, or wherever it is that you listen to your podcast. Make sure you click the little bell button and subscribe. We're also on YouTube as well, so you can watch us in person if that's how you prefer to listen and see. So make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube as well.
This is not a paid advertisement for the Petty Mask.
But let's keep the conversation going.
Excellent. Bye.
See ya.